Good evening. I'd like to call to order the January 14th, 2025 monthly Board of Directors meeting for the South Carolina Water and Sewer Authority. I apologize for starting late. We had a meeting that ran over. It pushed us a little bit late, some of us, that is. And with that, thank you everyone for being here and thank you for your patience. Ms. Crystal, will you give us a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Gooch.
Present.
Commissioner Kaczynski.
Present.
Councilperson Daniels.
Present.
Councilperson Cheek.
Here.
Commissioner Karen.
Here.
Commissioner McLam.
Present.
Commissioner Way will not be with us this evening. All are accounted for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, our next order of business is our invocation by Commissioner McLam.
Let us pray. Lord, be with us this evening as we conduct the business of SGWASA. Continue to guide us in what's the best way for us to go. All this we ask in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there any adjustments to the meeting agenda
For tonight,
for tonight?
I would like to add an item discussion on a letter from the Department of Health and Human Services to SGWASA.
Okay, and where would you like to add that in? And on the 16?
Sure. No, not that far down. Let's get it.
Number 8.
Yeah, let's do number 8.
Okay, I was looking at page 16. I'm sorry, I was off. All right, we will add that to item number 8. Is there any other adjustments to the agenda? If not, we'll call for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion, a second. Any questions on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, likewise. Let's have it. Motion carries. Review and approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from last month's meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Item number 7 is our public comments. We didn't have anyone sign up.
We've not had anyone sign
Okay,
up.
no emails. Okay, good. We have we covered that. Next item is board discussion items, and Commissioner and Vice Chair Kaczynski brought up the item for this. You have the floor.
There was a post in social media in this past month that is dealing with ATSDR, which I had no idea what that stood for. And I would like to ask our executive director if he wants to address this issue because it is controversial, and I want to make sure that the facts are out there to our public.
Well, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Commissioner Kaczynski. So the ATSDR is the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. It's the Department of Health and Human Services. And I would just like to say, and of course, this is a board discussion item, so I'll just give you some background here and see where the discussion goes. This basically stems from a petition from one of our customers in the SGWASA service area that petitioned the ATSDR to evaluate the quality of the drinking water provided by the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority. and whether contaminants in the water might be related to harmful health effects, including higher cancer rates for the area. There was concerns have been heightened by the discovery of PFAS in the drinking water, and there was also a request for information for the ATSDR to advise on whether residents should install reverse osmosis filtration systems. So basically looking at some water filters. So again, this request was made from the customer of SGWASA to the ATSDR December 15th of 2023. So this is not 2024. This is 2023. This information was submitted. Some of you may remember big headlines in the newspaper about this petition being submitted. Well, I want you to know that on December 30th, 2024, so just at the close basically of the calendar year 2024, I received a copy of a letter from the ATSDR, basically to the petitioner, which basically provided information and their response. Now, I did forward a copy of that letter to all the board members, and we've also printed a copy for you here this evening. So one of the things I would like to point out, I don't want to read the 5-page report to you, but the information's here for discussion. But I would like to point out to you on page 2 of the report the conclusions by the ATSDR, and that is we reviewed SGWASA's drinking water quality reports, which are public reports that we publish every year. We're required to do that for years 2018 through 2023. The reports revealed no violations of drinking water standards for non-PFAS chemicals for the years 2018 through 2023. Therefore, ATSDR will not conduct further evaluation of non-PFAS chemicals in SGWASA's drinking water at this time. The ATSDR also goes on to outline PFAS in drinking water and the fact that the ATSDR did not evaluate or discuss PFAS recently. And there's also some background on some facts about the EPA's final rule and the requirements. And we are following the rules and the requirements by the EPA. I think the board is very aware of that, and the public, in terms of the amount of time that we have to come into compliance with PFAS mitigation of our water supply. And just a reminder that PFAS is all over the place. This is not just a SGWASA drinking water issue. The board has had much discussion about that. So those are just some of the highlights and some background on the topic. And of course, I'd like to just provide it back to or throw it back to the board for any discussion you would like on that. Again, you do have a copy of the letter that was provided to me at the end of December.
So, Mr. Schroeder, wasn't SGWASA required to test for PFAS before this new directive came out, and we were always in compliance?
So yes, so SGWASA has been providing PFAS information on our state reports to show the state how we were with our values in comparison to the maximum contaminant levels. And as the board is aware and the public is aware, the EPA made changes several years ago with those values, those maximum contaminant levels, and they reduced those. So at one point in time, SGWASA was well within range of what those values were and was not exceeding that. And then the rules changed, basically, and went lower than what we were providing. And it wasn't just specific to SGWASA, but to all drinking water agencies. And therefore, we're still looking towards compliance in 5 years, which is now 2029, to remove the PFAS from our drinking water. So we've always provided those values. And in fact, we had a special report a couple of years ago where we hired a consulting firm and a testing firm to come in and draw some samples out of our drinking water source at the lake. And also the NCDEQ did some testing for us. So the board is very aware of that and what we're doing. And I think the board is also aware in the public about the $500,000 grant that we received to do the PFAS pilot study at our water plant, which is currently ongoing. And that testing should wrap up in April or May of this year. And that is providing the foundation for what technologies we will use to design and then construct to remove the PFAS from our drinking water. So all that is going on presently to meet these guidelines and these deadlines by the EPA addressing drinking water and PFAS.
So I know that you were new here to the area, but do you know if it was required to test for PFAS before SGWASA was formed. So what I want to know is, when Creedmoor Water was in existence, how far back did they start testing for PFAS? Was there testing done years ago?
You know, that's a great question. That's information I don't have in front of me. I know that through research that PFAS has been an issue in North Carolina since about 1980. So I do not know, and SGWASA was formed in 2005. So I'm not sure what the city of Creedmoor may have been doing at that time period for PFAS evaluation. As the board recognizes, we get information not annually, but in a period of time where there's new requirements basically for a water permit. So I would have to go back and do some research or try to find any of that information relative to that, and I don't have that presently.
So and the reason for that question was to say that, like you said, this is not a new SGWASA problem. This is a problem that's been out there for a while, and it's just the standards that have brought it forward for everybody to really be alerted about what it is.
That is correct. And now there's
I want to make sure I understand it.
very good.
So I want to piggyback on what you said. I appreciate Scott Troy, our executive director's statements on that, and Commissioner Kaczynski from Creedmoor bringing it up. As you know, the system is a merged system, and we had Lake Rogers as the primary drinking water source for Creedmoor up until about, I'm just going to throw a number out there, 2015-ish. The plant was on and off from 1939 until the mid 20, I don't know how to say this, 2010, 15, 16-ish, where the water plant Creedmoor is still functioning. But the Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry in Atlanta, Georgia, which is commonly known as the CDC in Atlanta, Georgia, also did a report on SGWASA water back in March of 17 when we were dealing with some of the THHM, trimethylacetic acid disaffected byproduct, chloramine cancer issues. And at that point in time, that agency basically reported to the citizen who contacted this agency, which I'm thankful for, that somebody's checking behind us, because it kind of lends credence to what we're doing here. Our lifestyle in Granville County with tobacco use and fat content and other lifestyle things was a primary factor in cancerous causing agents. And I think that the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry intimated, as well as our own independent studies that we did here, that a lot of the issues that we face here was not drinking water related. And that, now with PFAS, the latest, greatest of the sins of the past have come forward to haunt us. I think that we've realized that we're fat. Our dietary incomes and all the other things that we do in life are the result of our cancerous culture. And it's not the drinking water. Well, at least we hope and pray that it's not drinking water. This kind of adds a little bit to the fact that, we're not poisoning people on a daily basis with the water that we sell at SGWASA. And that, there are things that are in the water, surface water, reservoir, from a smell perspective, or it's surface water. It smells like fish. It has algae in it. The federal government, state government have shown through these queries that the water, though may not be satisfying to the palate of some of our customers, is not unsafe according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Safe Water Drinking Water Act unsafe to drink. So I'm glad that folks are on point in our community, and thanks to send notice to the ATSDR. But I think this on the second report front shows in two different reports that we're doing what we need to do and we're proactive. I think you mentioned at the top of our thing that we are currently way ahead of schedule, actively trying to figure out how to get PFAS, which we did not cause, out of our water.
Right.
And microplastics is next.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay. The EPA recommendations or the EPA standards tell us that we have to test in parts per trillion. When we first started testing, there was only a very few labs in the country that could test in parts per trillion. They just didn't have the equipment to test that low. 10 years ago, it was hard to test in parts per billion, much less parts per trillion. So the reason PFAS has probably never shown up before, even if it was here, it was because it was not at a measurable state. It was so low that you couldn't measure it. Now that we have the technology, and it's expanded over the last 4 or 5 years, you've got labs here in the state now that can measure in parts per trillion. And whereas 4 or 5 years ago, you had to send it out of state for test. You could you pull your sample, and you had to ship it out of state. And we didn't, and probably still don't have the technology here to actually do the sampling. We have to hire people to do the sampling because of the type of equipment you have to use. You can't use just a sample cup. You can't collect it with your hand. You have to have specialized equipment that will not contaminate the sample, because parts per trillion, as best I remember, it was described as a grain of sand in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That's what you're measuring. And that's how fine a line we're working with here. So, we just need to keep in mind that this probably been around for a long time. It just wasn't measurable with the equipment that was used to measure years ago. Anyone else?
I was just going to mention, not to go down a different trail here, but like our executive director said, we're not the only one concerned about PFAS. I know several years ago, I think Wilmington had issues, and I think it's from companies that had, from towns and counties that had plants, maybe using those chemical byproducts, probably raised the issue first. And I just think that we have to recognize that I'm grateful that the detection is no more than that. Not that I'm happy with it. I want it to be at below. But we could have a much more challenge than we do today. So I'm looking forward to some future updates on it. But I think we did well to get this information, and it sounds pretty good. And we're doing what we need to do. We're going by the standards.
Yeah, that, and we have engineering firms working on it as we speak.
That is correct.
They've been working on it for a while. And in fact, aren't they running a pilot plant now, testing?
Yes.
Water plant?
Last fall, the board authorized the engineering firm CDM Smith to utilize the $500,000 grant that we received from the state to actually start that pilot project. I believe that pilot project started in October of last year, and we anticipate about a 6 or 7 month run on that. So we'll be getting data. We're getting data from it now. So we have that analysis. We're starting to work towards some solutions The board will get updates on that as soon as we conclude the testing. Also, there will be a final report that will be public and presented to the board on the recommendations for the technologies that we're going to be using. Additionally, in order to meet the timetables in front of us, which is 2029, here we are in 2025, so we're on the countdown already. So is everyone else. So there's a lot of competition out there to do this, but we are competing with some of our larger water supply sources out there as well. The board is also going to be looking at possibly design build contracts later this summer to look at the actual cost of this construction. As I've relayed to the board over the last couple of years, PFAS reduction in our drinking water is very expensive based on the technologies. And I think the last grant that we put in for last year, we're putting in another grant application this year. I think that in order to treat our total licensed amount basically to operate is anywhere from $20 to $25 million at this time to remove the PFAS out of the drinking water supply. So that's in front of us yet for discussion within the next several months because we will have to start construction on that sooner than later to meet those timelines.
From an economy of scale perspective, I mentioned at my last commissioner meeting in the Granville County Commissioners that there's been a grant awarded to some folks out of the University of North Carolina at Charlotte that have come up with a new filter process for PFAS for residential use. And it's they're in competition right now to figure out how to get it done and make it scalable and present it to the public so they can utilize it. But I would hope that people would take their personal responsibility and look out for themselves and take care of it in their own household. We're doing the best we can. We need to exceed all current regulations that have been put forth by the state and the federal government here at SGWASA. And I'm very proud to serve on this board that meets and exceeds all federal and state guidelines. And if people choose in their personal life to go above and beyond what is set by the federal and state government, just like we do in our lives for everything else. If you want to exceed the standards, go you.
Anyone else have anything to say on this topic? Yes.
Just a note, Mr. Chair and Board, we of course will make this information available on our website for the public as well. Everything that we've talked about this evening, if it isn't already there, we'll ensure that after this meeting it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on this topic before we move on? Okay. Item number 9. Updating SGWASA's water and sewer standard details and specifications. Chris, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Good evening. I hope everyone's doing all right. This item is basically updating our standard water and sewer standard details and specifications. So a little background on this. South Granville Water and Sewer Authority has 3 professional engineering firms currently under contract for on-call engineering services. Those firms are Hazen Sawyer, CDM Smith, and McGill Associates. SGWASA utilizes the 3 engineering design firms for many utility projects since all 3 firms offer a wide range of expertise across many engineering disciplines. Engineering work performed at each engineering design firm is accomplished via the task order process. A task order is written for a specific project, and it contains a scope of work and an outline of the related cost for such work. The draft task order is reviewed by the SGWASA staff for any modifications prior to finalizing the task order. Once the draft task order is finalized, the engineering firm submits the final task order to SGWASA for review and tentative approval. Tentative approval status is required until the funding associated with the item is secured. So a little analysis on this. So SGWASA's water and sewer standard details and specifications were last updated in 2017. During the engineering design process of the I-85 sanitary sewer improvement project, SGWASA staff recognized that several of SGWASA's 2017 standard details and specifications for utility infrastructure needed to be updated to modern utility standards. Crystal, do you mind pulling kind of this is an example of what our standard details and design look like. So if you look on the screen, or you also have a printout of it. So this is what you see here is our sewer standard. This is just one page of the sewer standards, but basically this standard helps us provide engineers and developers with what we need as a utility to go in the ground. So we're trying to bring these up to today's standards to make sure that we get the best infrastructure in the ground. As SGWASA continues to upgrade its water and sewer system infrastructure, modern engineering standard details and specifications help provide SGWASA and its customers with a good framework to reduce service outages and interruptions. These standard details and specifications are the necessary grounding for proper infrastructure, extension requirements, and to ensure SGWASA is in the best place it can be for its current and future residents, industries, and businesses. To initiate the project to upgrade SGWASA's water and standard details and specifications, SGWASA staff contacted several of its current on-call engineering firms to discuss the project. Following the discussions, the on-call engineering firms provided SGWASA with a scope of work and the associated cost for such work. Following a review of the proposals, SGWASA staff determined that CDM Smith was the recommended vendor for the project. CDM Smith has provided SGWASA with a scope of work to update the SGWASA standard details and specifications. The project scope and related fees are shown in Table 1 below. So if you look at Table 1, this is a breakdown of what you see here. The biggest cost for this whole project is a standard detail update. And what that entails is, so if you look at one of the pages that we had there, you'll see a detail drawing. We do not have CAD drawings of our details. My understanding is this was brought over from another local municipality and kind of conformed to what we have, to what we needed at the time. But we do not have electronic files of this. So that is the biggest cost associated with this project, is to create these CAD files. So this is at the total project is a cost of $84,900. $2,600 of that is for presentation, and then $10,000 of that is for an allowance for ad hoc items to be added. So the next steps, following the board's review and approval, SGWASA staff will move forward with its next steps in the approval process to initiate the work. So staff recommendation, we recommend that the board of directors approve the task order, and then provided following board approval, SGWASA staff will move forward with the next steps in the approval process to initiate the work. CDM Smith estimates that this work will be accomplished in 25 weeks following the notice to proceed. So this is a fairly lengthy project. So, and the cost associated with this is roughly $85,000. So, the recommendation from the executive director is that you approve the task order for updating SGWASA's water and sewer standard details and specification by CDM Smith in the amount of $84,900.
Does anyone have any questions for Chris?
I do, being a newbie. I just want to make sure what I'm understanding. I'm understanding basically we're making it easier to get these specifications out to everybody by having a different system. That it's not that we're physically doing any work on systems, correct?
So
It's
standard details provide the framework for what goes in the ground, what's designed.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we are up to today's standards. So basically, this is to update the standards that we have to provide engineers, developers, and all that stuff with what we need as a utility to go in the ground to make sure we're in the best place that we can be.
Okay, so it's not that we're doing the work, we're setting the standard for work going forward. Okay, just wanted to make sure I understood. Thank you. That was it.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, no other questions for Chris. We'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
There's a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move forward with the vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. And now we're on to item number 10. I-85 Sewer Improvement Project Escrow Agreement for Stormwater Construction Performance Security. And who's going to walk us through this? Scott, you know,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And ultimately, the requested action is the board approve allowing the executive director to execute the agreement. So we'll talk about that, and that agreement is attached. So this project focuses on the I-85 Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project. The board is very aware of this project. We are getting closer and closer to actually getting the construction started on this, which is very exciting. So I appreciate all that the board has done today to help us move in that direction. And just a reminder that CP number 2, an important part of this entire project, we look to have out for public bidding in February coming up, so next month, so that we can stay on schedule. So this item here, this legislative item, focuses on entering an agreement for an escrow account for stormwater construction performance security. So in our project, we have several sanitary sewer pump stations, and there's stormwater runoff basically on those sites. And we are required to manage that stormwater runoff on these sites. So these facilities actually reside in different municipal jurisdictions. This item is focused on the town of Butner and basically the town of Butner's land development ordinances. So just as a reminder, in the town of Butner, we have the Middleton pump station, and we also have the I-85 sanitary sewer pump station, and we have the Joe P pump station very close to the city of Creedmoor. So again, this focuses on the town of Butner's land development ordinances, and according to their section 15.3.1 of their ordinance, the ordinance administrator may at their discretion require the submittal of a performance security or bond or surety, cash escrow, letter of credit, or other acceptable legal arrangement prior to issuance of the permit. So there's a stormwater permit, in order to ensure that the structural best management practices, those are BMPs, are installed by the permit holder, which would be SGWASA, and also maintained by the owner as required by the operation and maintenance agreement. So again, this is basically a stormwater management permit for this project, and SGWASA has chosen to comply with the town of Butner's requirements via an escrow agreement. The escrow agreement is attached as Exhibit A, and this agreement will be between South Granville Water and Sewer Authority, the town of Butner, and Metro Title, a division of Fidelity and National Title, as far as the escrow agent. In terms of calculating the dollar amount related to the escrow agreement, the stormwater construction performance surety is the total estimated construction cost of the BMP approved under the stormwater management permit plus 25%, which in this case, as you can see, is calculated as a cost of $88,191 times 25% equals $110,239. So this evening, I'm seeking authorization by the Board of Directors to A, enter the escrow agreement between the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority, the Town of Butner, and Metro Title, and also authority to instruct the Finance Director to transfer $110,239 from the appropriate account to Metro Title, the escrow agent. The schedule following board approval, we will move forward to execute the agreement by all parties. We just talked about the financial portions of this. The acting finance director is in the audience this evening, should we need to call him up if there's any questions by the board. And you will see in your attachments, we have the escrow agreement. So again, recommendation to the board is that the Board of Directors authorize the Executive Director to enter an escrow agreement between the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority, the Town of Butner, and Metro Title, and also authority to instruct the Finance Director to transfer $110,239 from the appropriate account to Metro Title, the escrow agent. That's all I have on this item. Be happy to answer any questions the board members may have, and I'm sure the attorney can help me out with that as well. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
So the city of Creedmoor still got this under consideration. And Mr. Schroeder, if you could please reach out to our city manager to see if he has any questions on this item, so that we can get the city of Creedmoor portion of this settled.
I'd be glad to do that. I'll make contact with you tomorrow.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Does anyone have any questions? My understanding, this money goes in escrow until the project's completed. When the project's completed, the stormwater portion's completed, the money comes back to us.
Right, we did it, the ordinance allows either a letter of credit or, a bond or, cash escrow, and we thought the cash escrow was the most effective way to do it here.
Okay.
So there's no cost to SGWASA or the town for this, it's just a surety that helps all parties in case of necessity.
There may be a slight, escrow fee, I'd have to check, with that, but if it is no more than $500 for the life of the escrow agreement.
So would that be $500 in addition to this?
No,
It'd come out of
That'll be taken out of
Okay,
that.
yeah.
all right.
Motion to approve.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Then we'll move forward with the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Motion carries. Item number 11 is our emergency spending authorization for the Lake Road Water Booster Pump Station water leak. And this will be associated with budget amendment number 10.
That is correct. And I'm happy to take the lead on this as far as this presentation, and also we rely on Chris Sumlin, our Assistant Executive Director, to fill in where necessary. So this project involves the water leak that we had at the Lake Road Booster Station back on December 7th, 2024. The Lake Road Booster Station pump station is located on Highway 56 in Creedmoor. The Lake Road Booster Pump Station pumps water into the SGWASA Creedmoor area water distribution system and the water tower. I think many of you recall the cold temperatures that we had after Thanksgiving in the first week or so of December. That was basically the primary cause of the failure that we had within the building. So just a summary for you. On the morning of Saturday, December 7th, 2024, a water hammer arrestor control device connected to a 2-inch diameter water line inside the booster pump station attic burst, being frozen, causing a significant amount of water to drain from the ceiling down the walls onto the floor, causing significant damage basically to everything inside the booster pump station. Due to this event, water infiltrated electrical equipment that controls the water pumps. As a result, the water pumps could not pump water into the Creedmoor water distribution system, nor the water tower. So you can imagine some of the panic by the executive director and staff on this call when it came in, and the fact that we've had this flood inside the station. And most of you will say, wait a minute, that Lake Road Booster Station sounds familiar. Weren't we working on that all last summer as far as an upgrade? Yes, that is the case. What happened in the ceiling had nothing to do with any of the construction that was going on. So I just want to make sure that you're clear on that you understand that. Crews responded to the event. Again, with a lot of the equipment knocked out, we had to bring in some emergency service electricians and some plumbers, basically on our own crew, to help us sustain the water system in there, if you will. This flood was caused by a frozen broken pipe from a water hammer arrestor control device. And if you look at the bottom of your page, on page 29 of your agenda, on the left-hand side of the page, you will see in the attic the water hammer arrestor control devices. Now you see two of them in that image. The one on the right in that image is how it's supposed to look. The one on the left is the one that broke, spewing water all over the place, down the ceiling and down the walls and flooding the place. The water hammer arrestor control devices actually supply water to the emergency eye wash stations, which are found in the facility. So these are water sources within the building that if there's an emergency and someone needs to wash their eyes out, they step on a pedal basically and water floods their face. They release the pedal, and a lot of times that causes a shock or a water hammer. So these devices are installed to control that device, to soften that so that you don't have damage to the plumbing. The broken device sits atop the pipe on the left, as I discussed. The image on the right shows the water that leaked from the attic area down the wall, and due to these temperatures froze on the outside. So you can see in that image water coming out of the garage door, coming out of the ceiling, down the building. We have some additional pictures if the board would like to see those. We don't necessarily need to spend that time this evening, but we do have some additional images showing you all the equipment that was damaged. It's quite extensive, and we've managed through this to this point. Before I get into the procurement process, I'd like to just talk about the response time and assistance from others. We did have some assistance from some vendors that responded very quickly. That was the Lewis Electric Company and also Custom Controls Company. They came out immediately to help us get the station back up and running. And some of the challenges, again, that we had were the fact that the pumps weren't working, the control devices, the electronics, all the SCADA equipment that we're used to automatically operating and talking between the pump station and the tower, because that's basically what's occurring, to fill that tower would not work. So there were several days following this event that we actually had crews in that facility around the clock, basically turning pumps on and off manually to ensure water was in the distribution network and in the tower until we could get it up and running automatically just to get by. So we thank our crews for that, and also for the vendors that responded to that emergency for us. As far as procurement, and that's really what this item is about, the board has provided to me in our purchasing policy emergency spending authorization for services costing less than $90,000. And you'll see this in the procurement section, that this was basically an emergency that means involving health and safety of the people and their property, which is definitely the case. So the board has given me the authority to purchase goods and services costing less than $90,000 without the board approval, and that any such emergency expenditures must be reported to the board within 3 business days of the event, which occurred via email to all the board members. And then at the next regularly scheduled board meeting, which is this meeting, because this event happened in December, I must actually have a comprehensive report for you on the event, and that's included as well in this document on page 32. So basically, I'm satisfying the requirements of the purchasing policy this evening by presenting this information to you. And also what I provided to you is a repair estimate for you, which is on page 32 of your agenda. And I've also been coordinating with our insurance vendor for this entire project. So the insurance claim will be filed and will cover all damages, or the damages that are qualified less than $1,000 deductible that we have moving forward. So that project that's moving well with the insurance company. So I just want to tell the board that we move forward with several items less than $90,000 to get the station up and where it needed to be. Some of the greatest challenges we had during Christmas and New Year's were actually getting contractors on site to give us estimates. But we now have all that information, so the board can see on page 32 that we have about $83,258 in items in the cost to restore the units that were damaged during this event. And working with our insurance company, we basically have to replace the items as is. We cannot replace them with items greater than what they were, if you will. One of the things that we are suggesting this evening, and you can see on the table on page 32, we have a column called Cost to Prevent with $11,000 in there. And there's a vendor called Norwood Plumbing. And this item description is to remove all water lines from the attic and reinstall in an area that is safe for water. This will prevent future pipe failures in the attic. So our recommendation here is that we understand what it would take to fix the broken water line at an $1,800 cost in the attic, but we believe for long-term resiliency and not breaking in the future that it makes most sense to spend the additional money, if you will, to take the water lines for these water hammer arresters, bring them down from the attic into the room where there is actually heating and AC, so that they maintain above 32 degrees in the wintertime. And we normally keep the heat set within that facility around 68 degrees or so, 65 degrees. So we think this is a worthwhile expense. So we are looking at the table at a total cost of about $92,458. We've added about a 9% contingency to this, so our grand total is $101,126.29. Of course, the cost to restore really reflects our reimbursement from our insurance company at just under $84,000. There is a budget amendment associated with this item that is coming up. Again, this talks about the emergency incident that we had. This also talks about the authorization that the board has given me in terms of procurement, and also demonstrating that I basically met that policy in terms of communicating to the board, and then also presenting to you this evening a background of the information and the expense and the budget amendment basically that we're looking forward so that we can move forward with this project. Should the board authorize the budget amendment this evening, we will work on getting the purchase orders issued this week and the contract signed. And then my team tells me that we're about 45 to 60 days away from full completion once we start the project, because there will be removal of drywall, there'll be replumbing, there's electrical work, there's special components and relays that have to go back in the building. So we've got ourselves a mini project here once the board approves this. So that's all I have for this item present. We'd be happy to answer any questions the board members have.
Thank you. This item doesn't require board action. However, budget amendment number 10 will require board action. So does anyone have any questions for Scott at this time on?
So Scott, the insurance company will cover 82,000, and the 11,000 is basically all we're taking out of our. That's about the cost that's coming out of our general fund.
Yeah, that is correct. That's the best way to put it. So we would be looking at some contingency that we're asking for. Plus, we thought it was the best investment to go with $11,000 additional work that we would like.
And whatever contingency might be out there.
That is correct.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to item number 12. Check and purchase order countersigning authority resolution revision. And Ruben, you want to walk us through this? Help us out here.
Good evening, board. I'm Ruben Cardin, Assistant Finance Director and Acting Finance Director. I'll be presenting a few items tonight. Agenda item 12 is a revision to the check and purchase order countersigning authority resolution. The requested action is for the board to approve this revised resolution. Some background on it. North Carolina General Statutes requires that, except as otherwise provided by law, all checks or drafts on an official depository shall be signed by the finance officer or a properly designated deputy finance officer and countersigned by another official of the local government or public authority designated for this purpose by the governing board. Based on the board approved July 1st, 2024 organizational chart, the current resolution for check and purchase order countersigning authority needs to be revised to add the assistant executive director and remove the engineering director. With the addition of the assistant finance director position in October 2023, SGWASA migrated to the assistant finance director countersigning checks and purchase orders when all necessary documentation and procedures are in place. In the absence of the finance director, the board appointed deputy finance director signs, and the dual signature will be a position approved in the resolution in the order listed. So Exhibit A on the next page shows the current countersigning authority, and Exhibit B on the following page shows the proposed resolution. The engineering director is replaced with the assistant executive director and moved above the revenue collections and customer service supervisor. With that, I'm here for any questions, and if there are not any questions, we're looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
Does anyone have any questions on this item? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do you hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Now on to item 13.
All right, thank you. Item 13 is fiscal year 2024-2025 budget amendment number 10. We are seeking the Board of Directors approval for this amendment. Some background, budget amendment number 10 for fiscal year 2024-2025 appropriates additional budget for repair costs related to the Lake Road pump station water damage that occurred in early December 2024, what Scott spoke on earlier. Fund balance will be used initially, but the majority of the costs associated with these repairs are expected to be covered by insurance proceeds. The total expected cost for this repair, including a 10% contingency, is expected to not exceed $101,127. This budget amendment also reallocates budget for the purchase and installation of a pH water analyzer at the Lake Road pump station. The purchase of the pH water analyzer will be covered by unused funds from the Lake Road pump station rehab project and is not expected to exceed $12,000. Below the background is the previous amendment's effects on fund balance. Below that is budget amendment number 10. It appropriates $101,127 for Lake Road repairs. And under the expenditure section, it moves $12,000 from projects and studies into the water treatment plant department and increases the utilities pump station / towers department by the $101,127. The supporting documentation shows what the budgets will be after these adjustments, along with the effects on fund balance. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Anyone have any questions? Anyone have a motion?
I move to approve budget amendment number 10.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve budget amendment number 10. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And on to item
Ruben, you
number.
want a chair?
Yeah.
I'll be there for a while.
Item 14, fiscal year 24-25 budget amendment number 11.
All right, thank you. Item number 14 is fiscal year 24-25 budget amendment number 11. We are seeking the Board of Directors approval for this amendment. Some background, budget amendment number 11 for fiscal year 24-25 appropriates budget for capital improvement program CIP 106-01 lift station improvement program. The currently approved 10-year CIP includes $80,000 for sanitary sewer lift station improvements such as cleaning, pump replacements, and other facility upgrades. SGWASA utility staff has identified several sewer lift stations that need upgrades, and CIP fund balance will be used to fund this project. Below are previous amendments, including the budget amendment number 10's effects on fund balance. Below that, it says budget amendment number 10, but it should say budget amendment number 11. That's a typo. Revenues would be appropriating fund balance, $80,000. And under expenditures, it'll increase utilities pump stations towers department by $80,000. And the supporting documentation shows what the budgets will be after these adjustments, along with the effects on fund balance. Again, I'm here for any questions, and we're looking for a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Did anyone have any questions for Ruben?
Well, it's not for Ruben, it's for Scott. I thought the lift station improvements were part of the I-85 sanitary sewer project. Are these ones that are not included in that project? I mean, how many do?
Okay, yeah, that your second statement is correct. So in addition to the I-85 sanitary sewer improvement project on our CIP schedule, we identified different programs for both water and sewer. So there's a separate item on there, I think it was 106-01 was the item. So we set aside money annually in that program to allow us to do other upgrades to pump stations throughout our service area. So we have a lot of work on the I-85 project, that's true, but these are stations outside of that project area, if you will.
All right, thanks.
And we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion itself? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries.
All right, thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben.
Are we done recording?
Yes. Yes. Now, comments from our executive report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Board of Directors this evening. Thank you for your attention to all of our items this evening and for the approval so we can move forward with all of our important projects that we've presented to you this evening. I also like to thank Chris and Ruben for their presentations and supporting information. Thank you. I'd also like to thank Joel Coates, our project manager, for being here this evening in the audience, ready to respond to any questions about the booster pump station, which you had none this evening, so good for you. I'd like to I'm sure that the board has noticed a severe drop in our temperatures and an increase in our water main breaks in the last several days. So with the temperature drop that we've suffered this last week, the utility crews have been responding to several water main breaks, sometimes 2 or 3 in the same day. And the utility crews and supervisors have responded very quickly and very efficiently to get the water mains repaired while minimizing the water outages for our customers. So I think most of the board members, if not all, are receiving those alerts throughout the day. Water problem in motion, fixed, moving on to the next one. So the utility teams have done a fantastic job. So I just wanted to thank our utility crews, our supervisors, our managers, and our PIO for their round-the-clock communications and their work that they're doing for us. And I would like to think that we're done with those, but I know the reality is we are not. So, but again, just want to thank our team for how they're responding to keep the water flowing for us. So thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Yes, thank you. Comments from our attorney.
No comment this evening.
Okay, thank you. Councilperson Judy Cheek.
I do also want to thank you and your staff for the alerts and how quickly everything's getting, without anybody losing water. And I think, thank you.
Councilperson Vicki Daniels.
I also want to thank you for the information that's sent out through text, because I see them and I said, wow, this is great to be able to get all these alerts and see what's going on and which block it is, and finding out, well, that's just down the street.
It's behind me. That's ahead of me.
It's getting closer.
Someplace to avoid, right?
Yeah, but that is nice to be alerted. It's a good way of communication. So I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Tim Karen.
I appreciate the alerts. I talked about it last month that, it's disheartening to hear that crews are out in the middle of the night working
it's so
dark
cold.
and wet, but it's, we appreciate them. So good stuff there. And as you mentioned, the rapid response as well as with how they wrap up things at the job site is outstanding. Our people are awesome. So, good stuff there. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Kenneth McLean.
No comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Georgiana Kaczynski, Vice Chair.
So I also want to thank you and Crystal for these alerts, because I know that this is not something that happened before Crystal got here, and you two work very well together. And seeing it on Facebook, there was a day there, it was like phone, Facebook, for a while. But, pipes break in Butner in the winter, pipes break in Creedmoor in the summer. I do have a question about the water pressure issues on Church Street. I did just get a message saying that the water pressure issue on Church Street has still not been addressed. And I would like to bring it to your attention, and hopefully we can get that done, because that person has been waiting for a while.
They have, and I think that you and I talked about that. I want to say in December, maybe before Christmas, we were
Yeah.
working on a schedule for that. So I think that, as you're aware, the water main breaks have interrupted our scheduled work for that. But I will talk to Chris about that and our supervisors and our team to find out when we can get out there, get that work done on that street to change that water line, because that's what's involved, I believe, is installing a new water line for that customer across.
They did tell us that the markings are now out there, so if we were waiting for 811 to mark the lines, that's
Okay.
done.
Great.
And thank you for all the updates you provided tonight.
Okay. All right. Just like to echo what everyone else has said, I want to thank all the crews that are out at night and during the day. I did get a call from a customer on West F Street, saying what a fantastic job they were doing, how hard they were working, and under the brutal conditions because it was freezing cold at the time they were working on those. And it was a series of breaks on East Ave. So did get some positive feedback on that, and want to be sure you pass it along to the crew. And
Thank you.
I thank all the staff for being here tonight. I thank people who showed up for the meeting. Thank you for staying. Thank you, Scott, for all that you do, and you've assembled a really good team, and we appreciate each and every one of you. And one more item. Article 3H of the SGWASA bylaws requires that an annual meeting be held on the second Tuesday of February. During the annual meeting, SGWASA officers are elected by the board members. The four officers to be elected shall be the chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. Just wanted to kind of put you all on notice that that's coming up on our agenda next month. So just wanted you to be aware of it in advance. It happens every year, same time. So thank you all for your attendance tonight. And is there any other business to come before us tonight? If there's no other business to come before us, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Nobody wants to go?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll
All in favor say goodbye.
yeah. All those in favor say bye.
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 We are standing.